Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Chad. So they updated Black Ops 7 again. They ended up raising the max level to level 30. And yesterday, they ended up introducing a playlist. I would have covered it yesterday, but I already had my video out for the day. By the time that happened, it was already done. They had this thing called an open mosh pit. Classic matchmaking where skill is minimally considered. So this is basically the no SBMM mode. Their words, okay? So I have to put this out there. At one point, they were leading people to believe that this kind of matchmaking didn't exist. Then people in our community did some hard work. People that work with a bunch of data and shit all the time proved that matchmaking existed. Then the goalposts moved and said that skill-based matchmaking was always in Call of Duty. Instead of it not existing, it now has always existed. But we know that it doesn't exist in the same capacity, again, through more testing. Now they are referring to that old skill-based matchmaking system that they were talking about before as, quote, classic matchmaking, making a clear distinction between the old matchmaking and the current matchmaking, which was the point from the very beginning. It absolutely is different. Now, one thing immediately that I have to point out that is very, very important, and I'll probably get into it later, maybe not, who knows, I ramble a lot. As soon as you log into this game, say you're a brand new player, go and download this shit, you got a code off of somewhere, you're like, I'm probably not gonna go and buy this shit, but I'll play it for now. Battlefield's coming out in a few days, fuck it. Slam multiplayer, I'm not gonna press anything else, anything at all. I'm just gonna hit X or A, whatever controller I'm using. As you can see, every single time, no matter what I do, I didn't move anything, I'm not selecting anything. I can find a match, and the first thing that it's going to select here, the default playlist, is Open Mosh Pit. This, from the very beginning, is a good thing. Given it's not foolproof, but this is a step in the right direction, in my opinion. As soon as I knew that this open thing was a thing, and I went in here, I was expecting the Open Mosh Pit to be a secondary thing, even tucked down away under multiple playlists. So then Activision would be able to basically have the excuse of saying like, nobody engaged with the, game mode or whatever. And Activision knows exactly what they're doing. I'm just saying, I'm putting it out there. They know exactly how important it is to place it as the first one instead of the bottom one. Because people that have no idea about the game, completely casual, the same people that they're trying to get into their games, you can't truly test if people are enjoying this if people don't even play it in the first place. Now, obviously, the number one thing that I need to happen really is that this classic matchmaking, it's been my position from the very beginning, classic matchmaking should be the default matchmaking in each and every single game mode besides ranked. Ranked, you can take that skill-based matchmaking along with any other rank system you guys have, and that is perfect for a ranked playlist. But as far as regular casual matchmaking, I think that classic matchmaking is pretty good. I think that classic matchmaking is the way to recovery at the very least. People have a lot of fatigue, people have alternatives. Oh shit, I haven't played this map yet, Blackheart. So immediately, as soon as you go and select the playlist, first thing that you'll notice is how much faster the queue time is than the usual matchmaking. We already knew this, but it's nice to be able to like just see it right in front of ourselves. Skill-based matchmaking absolutely makes queue times longer, and connection isn't as good because it's not priority number one. Now they have claimed that it's priority number one from time to time, but I don't think it is. I never really had like much of a connection issue, to be honest, over the years. I've seen a lot of people complain that their connection is worse. In my experience, I don't think my game has been negatively affected by it, so what the fuck is this guy doing? My connection, bottom line, has almost always been good in COD, so. I noticed immediately in these games that there's a big variance in the player skill levels across the board. Like, there are some people in this game on the other team that are absolutely, like, better than other players on their own team, including my own, and because of that, the game feels more organic. What do I mean by organic? It feels like there's no underlying feeling of knowing that when you're playing it, you sat through and were categorized by this system. They basically preemptively determined what kind of match they want you to have next. Their goal overall is to bring everyone's KDs to like towards a 1.0. That's the goal of the skill-based matchmaking system. And then in turn, that results in more retention overall. Now, a lot of people take this position in the skill-based matchmaking argument to be 100% against skill-based matchmaking, and then in no way, shape, or form do you ever praise skill-based matchmaking in any way. I have always given skill-based matchmaking the credit that it deserves in terms of how effective it is at doing what it's designed to do, but I think the design is kind of not necessarily for the player and more so for the company itself to try to bolster numbers. On paper, when you think, well, the numbers are being bolstered, so therefore those numbers equal the player's happiness or satisfaction or basically approval. So in their one paper that they ended up putting out there about skill-based matchmaking, they said that people, when there are no skill-based matchmaking, especially on the lower end of the skill, they end up quitting games more often. So Activision sees quitting games as a negative thing. Like, oh, this person quit the game, so they were having a negative interaction here. they left, so that is a negative reaction. Now, to me personally, I think it's a good thing that players can leave games whenever they feel like they're not enjoying themselves. You don't usually leave the game if you're having a really good experience. I mean, sometimes you can, but you know, probably most people, probably not. With that said though, in SBMM, when you go and quit a game, your next game is not going to somehow magically be better than the last game that you were in, because the system, I don't know how the system deals with people leaving games and stuff like that. I don't know if, like, say you start in this certain bracket, you don't do that well in the game, but you leave before the game ends, say like halfway through, and say you were like 10 and 22 or something like that, and you left the game. I don't know if the system is counting that bad game altogether, or it's just leaving you at what you were before that game started. I don't know if it registers during the game as you get kills, as your score per minute goes up. I don't know if it registers immediately afterwards. I imagine it's afterwards. So if it does work like that, if you were to leave a game, matchmaking would immediately put you right back into the same game in the same bracket. So effectively, nothing changed at all, and you backing out of that game is almost pointless because you know your next game is going to be the same thing. So it actually makes it feel like the player has less agency over what is actually happening in their game. And agency, I just mean having the ability to be able to control their experience to at least a better degree than what they currently do. Now, of course, people will lobby shop, people will just back out of games and stuff like that. But again, the matchmaking system, actually, if this system causes people to leave more often, but it also causes people to queue more often and more quickly, it refills itself back up. And it worked for many, many years before that. Lobbies feel more organic. I mean, people are good at the game, so I mean, obviously they're gonna just stay good. It doesn't really matter. The point for the skill-based matchmaking isn't just to stomp your lobbies, every single lobby. It's just not every single game is going to be a predetermined thing of whether or not this game's gonna be harder or easier, or there's just more variance in those games. So as a solo experience, as a solo player, which is a good amount of us, honestly, I think a lot of us are ignored a lot of the time, and they do really try to concentrate on like parties and stuff like that, having a good time. But even then, SBMM is pretty counterintuitive to that as well, because you can't go and play with your friends if you guys are different skill levels and shit like that, unless you want the worst players on your team to have a terrible time, blah, blah, blah. Solo experience is better. Queue times are faster, solo experience is better. You have a little bit more control during the matchmaking because of it, just because of a little bit more variance and not a guarantee that something is going to happen. That immediately makes it so I'm more hopeful for the next game if I do have a bad experience. Now, obviously, all the points I'm making, there's positives and negatives overall, but I just feel like there's less fatigue involved with this style of matchmaking in comparison. If you have a bad game, you have the ability to completely disengage with it and have an opportunity for a better game next match. Under stricter matchmaking, you don't have that choice. You can try, but it's a waste of time. And again, that's just where that fatigue sets in, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to face tank this game, I just have to. This would result in more players definitely joining more games in progress and then leaving again, but again, we have fast matchmaking. If I join a game that's in progress and my team is getting stomped out, I'll probably leave again anyway. Then eventually it'll just result in the winning team just seeing a bunch of people get cycled out, maybe die a couple times and then leave as well. But this is what happened with the old system as well. But again, those same people that left that game, after realizing, wait, we're losing really bad, I'm just gonna leave, they just queued up for another game afterwards. That's it. I think that's completely fine. Again though, this matchmaking system needs to be the default. Not just a default playlist either, the default setting overall for all casual playlists. One issue is that people have basically had a taste now. People have had a taste of, when they're in a certain bracket, of how skill-based matchmaking seems to be helping them. But maybe they don't even really know what it's like, or how good or how bad they are overall either. Because skill-based matchmaking makes it very difficult to see gaps in skill because they're trying to pack people so tightly together. Now, of course, in this scenario, with it being a playlist, more sweaty players that are even aware of the existence of skill-based matchmaking, what it does, how it operates, yada, yada, yada. Of course, more people will gravitate towards this mode. The thing is, again, it's default. So if it becomes a default thing and the people that aren't aware of it continue to stay unaware, they were always unaware. They're not paying attention to how the game is match made. They just want to get in, get out, and if they're not having a good time, they can just leave and then just join a different one. And it's not like they're having a blast during all of the SBMM made games, because clearly player retention is still going down anyway. So even if it was helping at some point, or it has this effect that seems positive for the numbers overall, it's kind of eliminating a lot of the nuance in between. Sure, more people quit. How many more games are being played? Another thing that really sucks is that this is being tested on a Call of Duty that is basically, optically doomed from the very beginning. Also, I have to point this out really quick. I have to say it. People were leaving comments on my video yesterday. You guys do understand the whole, like, I can't compliment Black Ops 7 thing is like a meme, right? Like, I see people down there in the comments saying, bro, don't let them control your opinions. People are talking to me like I'm a child. I'm a grown-ass man. I've had my own opinions. I've been there. My opinions have changed. I've learned. I've grown. I've matured over the years. I ain't perfect, but I'm a bit more proud of the person that I am to this day. And this isn't about just sticking to opinions. It's knowing when it does and doesn't make sense to actually shift my opinion. So many people champion people just sticking hard to their opinions and being completely immovable by them, even when they're presented with information that directly counters what it is that they're saying. That is not a hard thing to do. It is not hard to just stick by something when it's been proven demonstrably false. That's not the hard thing to do. That's the easy thing to do. The hard thing to do is to take in that information, process everything, think about it in anything, and then form your opinion afterwards. Even if it doesn't seem to align with what it would have previously, that is growth in you. That said, though, I just have to put it out there because there are a lot of really immature people out there that think like just hanging on to a singular opinion and being completely immovable no matter how often you're proven wrong. That's easy as fuck to do. I have to put it out there. There's a lot of people that champion that shit. I know that there's gonna be people that say some shit like that. You're wrong. What you're doing is easy. Anyway, the whole I can't compliment Black Ops 7 thing is a meme. I am hearkening back to the Infinite Warfare year. I made jokes during that entire thing as well. I'm going to do the camo grind on this game. It doesn't matter how many comments people go and leave on the video or whatever. I'm going to do the camo grind on this because that's what I do year over year. This will just be another year of Call of Duty where I do that camo grind. And then a year or two after that, I'm going to be allowed to refer back to this like Infinite Warfare year number 2, like I'm already currently doing. It's just Call of Duty, man. We got other games to play. Chill out. And also, speaking of progression, design-wise, it seems a little counterintuitive to have such a strict skill-based matchmaking system and then have an entirely other progression system go completely against that ideology of having a, quote, fair game. You know that a meta will develop, right? There will always be a best gun. So when everybody is at a very similar playing field, and as a good player, you're trying to get every single advantage that you can. So you're actively going to think that. The other players are like you as well, so they're also thinking like that. So everybody just ends up using the same shit. And you can't use the shit that's off meta because it's statistically worse. You could argue for like, oh, we just need better balancing because of that, but that is much harder to do than just not having a matchmaking system that makes the game play like this, and then also actively having a progression system, arguably the main progression system of the game for retention, to be made miserable to do because of another system. They don't work together. They're counterintuitive to each other. I think that they know that. Ultimately, by the end of this, I don't know if any of this skill-based matchmaking shit will stick. I think they just want to get people talking or whatever. I think they've already conceded this year that it's not going to be a good year. No matter what they do here, even if they announce for the full game that SBMM has been toned down entirely across the board, I still don't think that that'll do that much for their numbers. And I think that they also might know that as well. So I think they're just going to put all their eggs in the MW4 basket. I might just be a little pessimistic or cynical or whatever word you want to use. I think no skill-based matchmaking is good. I think at this point in time, it's better than skill-based matchmaking overall, since so many people are also actively aware of it as well. There's positives and negatives to both of them. I'm not actively blindly against SBMM. I recognize the good things that it does. I recognize the bad things that come from no skill-based matchmaking. With that said, though, again, down to an organic feeling, how it truly feels to play and experience the game is substantially better for players on the lower end and the higher end in terms of an overall experience as a skill set in any way, shape, or form. You know what a bad player would really enjoy? Seeing themselves actually get better at that game. And you know what happens when people see that improvement in the game in any way, shape, or form? They get that dopamine hit. When they get that dopamine hit, what happens? They're back in the fucking game, queuing another one. And guess what happens right there? The queue time is instant fucking taneous. I could go all night. You guys get it though. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section.